Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another exciting episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. In one corner, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money, Mary Jane, or Popeye spinach. He's the tranquil dart of Ringside Society and Delaware's greatest American hero. He is Rob Bass, and you are not. And in the second corner, we have that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. But today's not about us. We have a special young man, that's right, that's actually with us today. He actually graduated from the Nightmare Factory Camp 4. That's right. We throwing up fours like we Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and the rest of the Four Horsemen. And not only did he graduate, he was actually victorious at the following Nightmare Factory Student Showcase 4. Man, I still got memories of that match. Everybody, welcome to the show, Gabriel Vega.
Hey guys. Yes, thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, no problem, man. Like I said, when I told you several months ago, I was like, "Yo, we're gonna be hitting up class 4 real soon. Now we're going camp by camp. So, we're done with camp 3 for now. We're going through halfway through camp 4. So yeah, man, we're getting y'all, one by one, 2 by 2, however we can. So how's everything going for you, man?
It's been going pretty good, man. Just like been hitting the gym and all that stuff, trying to, get into even better shape and all that stuff. So how are y'all doing?
Pretty good, man. We're just here. I'm over here in New York, which is,
wow.
It's not as hot now. I mean, fall, you could definitely feel fall coming through. I woke up this morning, had to run some errands and it felt like fall. So I'm like, okay, a couple more weeks, we'll be wearing hoodies. So yeah, Rob is over in Delaware, so I don't know how the weather is over there.
Oh yeah, fall. Yeah, it's getting ready to come here, but next week is supposed to warm back up though. So,
Oh man, same story for us too. It's like we're in like this is like the fool's fall for us because Georgia's weird. I live in Georgia, so it's kind of weird right now. It hit like 50s, and I think next week we're about to go back into 90s. So just when we thought fall was here, it's like going away again. So.
yeah, it was like 70, like 80 at the most, and all. And then at night it get down to like 60, 65. It was all nice. And then next week, it's gonna be like 90 again. It's like, oh man, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I used to live in Florida for like 7 years, and I remember the weather there was kind of weird. Like sometimes you get like 2 weeks of cold, and then next thing you know, it'll be warm again. Then you get another week of cold, and then But the thing about that, my theory is that when New York, like up here, when we get those serious like snowstorms and whatnot, um, like places like Georgia, places like Florida, they tend to feel it. They don't get the snow, but you could definitely feel the cold weather down there. So yeah, it's like that. But hey, I rather not deal with the snow. I'm good on the snow. It's fun when it falls, but like after the day after, 2 days after, yeah, it's like nah, just go away, man.
Oh man, you're telling us here, like here it'll snow like 1 inch and everything like shuts down. Like it's crazy. Like nobody here can drive in the snow. There's like memes and stuff about it, which I'm sure you guys probably like have seen before of like the snowmageddon thing. But yeah, it's like 1 inch here, like we're done. Everything's closing. Everybody's stuck in traffic. Like it's over.
That's kind of the same thing in North Carolina too. They tend to do that as well. Yeah. So tell us, man, how did you become a fan of professional wrestling? What was the main event or the show that you saw that had you tuning in every week?
Oh man, so with wrestling, I've always kind of been around it. As a kid, I was born in California, and I had bigger cousins at the time when I was small, and they were super into wrestling. And at the time, that's when like WCW was like kind of at its peak, right? So it was like kind of like in the later half of like the 90s, like the like 90 like 7 98, right? So I remember watching it, like catching a glimpse of it. Like my earliest memories is like seeing it. And the reason I remember it's because Sting used to freak me out when I was a kid. Like his face paint for some reason would like scare me. I don't know why.
Okay.
But like that's like engraved into my head. But it was there. Then I kind of when I moved away, I kind of like went away from wrestling a little bit, and I kind of rediscovered it. I actually rediscovered it through a video game. I remember I went to go play. I think it was like, oh man, I think it was like Night of Reckoning 2 or something like that for like the GameCube or something like that. So I went over to play that with my friends, and I was like, oh man, I was like, I kind of like remember this, right? So then like after I played that game, and it was such a fun game. After I played that, I like tuned in, right? I tuned into Raw, and I caught like a rerun of it on like a Sunday or something like that. It was a weird day to watch like Raw on a Sunday, but I caught a rerun it on Sunday, and I was like hooked. And at the time, it was like the feud between Randy Orton and the Undertaker, where like the Undertaker came back to life or whatever after he was like burnt like alive by Randy Orton. So I remember watching that, and then after that, I started to get hooked on like the stories, the characters, and I like never left it after that. I think it was probably when I rediscovered my love for it. It was probably like, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10 years old, I think, is when I rediscovered it.
Oh, you're on mute, man.
Yeah, that was a very interesting time to get into wrestling, especially
Yeah.
798, where you had, everybody was at their peak, not just WCW but WWE. They were on their A game.
Yeah.
You had on one side, you had NWO on the other side, and everything was just like so exciting to watch. And it's funny because I remember back then, having one TV on Nitro, one TV on Raw, or sometimes when you
Yeah.
have one TV, you have to flip between the two. That was something as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, those were crazy. Like I was I was young, so obviously I wasn't like, the one flipping through the channels like my cousins were.
Yeah.
But after I like rediscovered my love for it, like around like 10 years old, I went back and I like started to watch all like the older stuff, like the WCW stuff. And then obviously the match that like kind of got me into like wrestling and all that stuff was Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. So like the one that everybody kind of remembers, the Halloween Havoc match, like that one, like I remember when I was older and like I was watching it through like the network and everything. That's the one that like it like blew my mind. I was watching it and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. Like it made me like really love wrestling. And after that, I just kept like watching and watching and watching, and it just kind of grew from there too.
So that Halloween Havoc match, the one where Rey Mysterio wore the purple, the purple question attire.
Yep.
What was your thoughts? What were your thoughts when Seth Rollins wore that against Dominic Mysterio? My thought process was, oh no, he didn't. But what was your thought process?
Same thing, man. And it was kind of, yeah, I remember like seeing his gear. First of all, I thought his gear was cool. I was like, that's that's a really cool like ring gear idea, and it's really good like psychology to kind of like mess around with that and kind of play on that. And I think he did the same thing with like Cody, and he like wore Dusty Rhodes's like polka dot like trunks as well, like his tights. So yeah, man, when I saw that, I was like, what the heck? Like this man's pulling out all the stops, man.
Yeah, that was I gotta say, Seth Rollins, he definitely knows how to play mind games. I would definitely love to see a Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins feud when he comes back, because when Randy Orton comes back, because that'll be the battle of the mind games. Because Randy will play some games with you. He will have you thinking, what?
Oh yeah.
What? But yeah, that would definitely be a great feud to watch. I know they've already wrestled before, and of course, most of the time Randy won, but I would like to see. I think this is a different Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
When I see Seth Rollins, I think of like, I guess, the Joker now.
Yeah.
Like, just tired and whacked out of his mind, and I like this. This Seth Rollins, the best Seth Rollins.
It's the laugh, man. The laugh reminds me of the Joker too.
Yeah. But in all honesty, he's gotten so good at playing mind games that Roman couldn't even get a win over this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that match again. I want him to have another match, but it's probably not going to happen. But that's the only guy that's been able to beat Roman Reigns by DQ. And Roman Reigns hasn't been able to pin him.
Right.
That was great. So you said Sting freaked you out. Did you ever get to meet Sting growing up?
No, I wish I did. I got to see him. I got to see him wrestle live for the first time. I think when AEW was here, AEW came here to Georgia. Not last time, not this time that just happened, but like the previous time they came to like Duluth, Georgia, which is like 10 minutes away from my house. The stadium is. So I went to go watch him, and that's the first time I actually got to saw Sting like live. But I never got to meet him, which is crazy because he's like one of my like idols that I kind of look up to. Like I love his character, like the way he just like reinvented himself. He like, completely came back and like said nothing for like literally like a year. He like wouldn't speak. He just like would stand there and sit up top in the rafters and stuff. That was like the coolest like thing. When I went back and rewatched it, I was like, man, like just the character change is just insane to me. So I really idolize him for that. And then obviously he's great in the ring too. And he can still go too at his age, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this guy's secret, man? Like, he's like, I'm not gonna put the man's age out there, but I'm like, because I don't want Sting, coming from a rooftop and hitting me with a bat and reverse DDTing me. But I would like to know what his secret is, man. Because I want when I get up there in age, I know you're gonna age, but I want to be able to move like he does.
Oh yeah, man. He's like diving off out over like he's diving off of like ladders and like railings and stuff. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I don't think I've ever gotten to see him wrestle live. Hopefully one day I will. I may go to the AEW show here in New York. That's supposed to be next Wednesday, and I might get to see him there. But yeah, it gives you like a different outlook on life when you see people like him still going strong and whatnot,
Right.
So now that you're a fan of professional wrestling and you're tuning in every weekend, you're cheering your favorites and whatnot. How did your journey go from Gabriel Vega, the fan, to Gabriel Vega, pro wrestler, just graduated from the Nightmare Factory Camp 4? Like, how'd you end up? Like, what made you decide to do it, and how'd you end up getting in with Nightmare Factory and so on?
Gotcha. So originally, it's kind of something I've always wanted to do. Like I remember, I kind of decided I wanted to pursue it in high school, but then I never kind of got around to doing it for whatever reason. Well, at the time, schools cost a lot of money, and I was like, I was doing high school and stuff like that, so it was kind of difficult for me to kind of like find a school. And at the time, I live in Atlanta, so like there wasn't a whole lot of schools like in the area, like that I could kind of go to. Now there's a couple more and stuff like that. But yeah, it took me a while. Life kind of, came at me and stuff like that. So I kind of just had to deal with that, get a job, all the regular like day-to-day life stuff. But I actually remember, man, I had like a conversation with one of like my coworkers. And I told them, I was like, yeah, I might as well like try it now. Like if it's something I wanted to do, like I don't want to like move on with my life and be like, oh, like what if I, did try to become a wrestler? Like what if I, even if you just trained or get in the ring, like I didn't want to leave life like later on in my older years and be like, well, I never tried it. Probably not gonna get in the ring when you're like 60, well, unless you're Sting, but like you're probably not gonna get in the ring unless you're like older, right? But yeah, I decided to get into it. And then I trained and I was looking for schools, and for some reason, and it's weird because I live in like the Atlanta area. So the Nightmare Factory was actually really close to me. It was in Norcross. So I completely forgot that there was like the Nightmare Factory, and I was like looking up schools and stuff like that on my phone. Then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, isn't there one here? And then I Googled it, and like, sure enough, it's like Nightmare Factory. And at the time, Camp 1, I think, had just ended. And I went through and like watched the showcase, and I was like amazed. I was like, wow, like these people, like, like all the work that they put into this camp. And, some of them, it was like their first match. Like they haven't wrestled a match in a long time. And like they're wrestling like amazing. They're wrestling like if they were like, for TV and stuff like that, So I looked at that and I was like, all right, cool. So decided to go for that. Yeah, I signed up. I was originally going to be part of Camp 3, which is a little bit weird, but I had like a medical thing pop up and I had to go to like the hospital and get a procedure done. So couldn't attend Camp 3. So then I attended Camp 4 after that. And then that's how I kind of got into it. So yeah, man, it's just something I've always wanted to do. And I was just like, like I'm still young. Yeah, let's get through it now and like do it. And then if it's something I really like, just continue to do it till I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, Camp 3, man. I remember Camp 3 so well. So many, like I've had so many memories there. I remembered Ishmael Vaughn doing a tope suicida on
Oh man.
JDX and taking out the whole guardrail. And then I remembered, Parker Lee. This was the funniest. This was the funniest moment of that showcase 3. Parker Lee raiding the Canadian destroyer with a Canadian destroyer.
Yeah.
Funny too, man. I was like, where did they get this from? But yeah, that would I've watched all y'all showcases. I've even watched y'all, the one you were in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everyone, they're so well done, and everyone has a moment that I always, or two that I always remember. Y'all's zone is actually the one where the first one, it was the first match. It was Trevor Blackwell versus Frankie Filto.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Frankie did the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat crossbody off the top rope onto Trevor Blackwell and got the win. Then you had a tag team match with Danny Dragon.
Yes.
Against one half of the business, Casey Rocker and Luther Heavens, and you guys did like a Hardy Boys-esque like move, like poetry. It's like a mixture of poetry, emotion, and a swanton, like, or I think it was a splash you did.
Yeah, I did a splash. Yeah,
a splash. Yeah, it was a splash. But yeah, you did a splash off of Danny Dragon's back and got the pin. And I was like, yo, that's definitely one of the highlights of this, showcase 4 as well. And I'm looking forward to Showcase 5. The other moment that I remember from that was Katie Hebner, the smallest woman in that match with her and Dubois, getting a submission win over Reka Tahaka. Reka Tahaka is like a huge, muscular woman, and
yeah.
Katie managed to make it happen. That was pretty impressive. So, what was going through your mind? What was going through your mind when you actually had to perform in front of a live audience? Now that you've actually graduated Camp 4 and you got the head nod and the handshake from your coaches, what was your mindset like going into that tag team match? Were you like nervous, like, oh geez, I got to perform in front of everybody? The coaches are watching, Coach Cody and Coach Ian are watching too, or were you like, man, I got this, man. I had so many weeks of training from the best. I got this. Or was it like a mixture of both?
Kind of a mixture of both. So like it was, I did have, some confidence, and I think we all did in the match because we all knew kind of like what we were going to do. We all worked very well together. Danny is amazing. Love Danny, my partner. He's such a great guy. Kind of like, we work well as a team, man. Like, love him to death. But yeah, it was kind of confidence because we had, obviously like when you do these matches, we have like coaches and stuff kind of coaching you through it, giving you like feedback and stuff like that. So we kind of already knew what you wanted to do, and everything like that. So we were like, all right, we kind of got this. And then obviously like when you get in there, there's a crowd. So like, certain things you have to like kind of play by ear based on like reactions, stuff like that too. But I was also kind of nervous too. Obviously, it's my first match. I've never like wrestled in front of like other people that weren't my peers or my coaches or anything like that. So that was a little nerve-wracking at first. Just being like behind, like near like where like gorillas, just like standing behind the curtain and stuff like that and waiting. I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, like this is it. Like, like 12 weeks of like hard work, like, doing the work and all that stuff kind of pays off now. So I was trying to get myself into the mindset and being like, I got to get pumped up. But I did have like butterflies in my stomach and all that other stuff that comes with like nerves of you performing in front of people that you don't know, like, trying to get like a good reaction out of them and stuff like that. So it's completely different than just wrestling in front of your peers and coaches for sure. But yeah, and it was nervous too, like having your coaches wrestle. We had like practice, like, the matches beforehand and stuff like that. So they had like seen our match already, like kind of what we wanted to do. So we had some good feedback on it. So we already knew that. But Cody didn't. At least he like didn't see like the practice matches, right? So I remember the day of the show, they told us, all the coaches and stuff like there, and like Cody was there kind of in the back, right? And they were like, oh yeah, like Cody's going to be here, but they didn't tell us, or at least we didn't know until I think it was like after Frankie's match. Is I think when we knew that Coach Cody was there, right? And I think Frankie came on here and told the story about how he like saw Cody or whatever in the back and all that stuff. I didn't know it was Cody and all that stuff. So after that, like I knew he was there because they told us that Cody was there. But it was crazy. Like once we finished the match and everything, once I go through the curtain though, like the butterflies kind of go away. Like as soon as I stepped through like the stage, it all just kind of went away. And I was like, all right, like it's time to perform. Like I know what we got to do. Like let's go ahead and like knock this out of the park. So once you're in there, everything kind of goes away and you kind of get into that zone. And then the nerves went away after that. But I remember coming back, I was like, oh man, like what did my coaches think? You know, what did, you know, my family think, my friends and all that stuff. But I went back and like the first person that greets me through the back is Cody. And Cody's like, hey, good job, man. I loved your fire up. I love the finish and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh snap, it was like Cody's like right here. That's crazy. And that was like the first time he got a chance to see us like wrestle, like actually like wrestle matches and stuff like that. So it was really cool to get some feedback from that. And obviously the crowd and everything like that too was just amazing. It's an amazing experience. There's like truly nothing like it. So
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me, you know, you're on our show, but Cody is definitely, and Dustin. I mean, the Rhodes family, they're like one of my favorite wrestling families. I like the fact that they have this hard, like every time they go into a match, they have this hard work ethic. And it's like watching an action movie with them, whether it's Dustin, whether it's Cody, or whether it's the late, great American Dream, whether you're watching replays of his matches, you could always see the hard work that they put into their matches. And that's why I always enjoy, that's why I myself personally, and Rob too, we always enjoy, interviewing y'all because, and watching y'all showcases because, we admire the hard work that y'all put in and so on. And, I mean, even though I'm behind 2 showcases, but I'm going to catch up soon. It's always great, to watch those events and so on. And, with that being said, now the Diamond Sheik, who a lot of people know has started, district championship wrestling, Diamond Sheik and Jameson Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any chance, and, of course, you've obviously seen it, the district championship wrestling promotion, they've had numerous Nightmare Factory alumni on there, many of whom have been on our show, dudes in kimonos, Josh Breezy, who will be in the not Nightmare Factory, the Rumble,
Mm-hmm.
and Renegade Twins and Hyena Hera as well. So many more.
Oh yeah.
Is there any chance that we'll see you on a show real soon? We'll see Gabriel Vega, hit that splash on somebody,
Yeah, man. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get back into it. Getting into that and like, splashing people around and stuff like that. Yeah, man, I'm excited to kind of get back out there and kind of show the world kind of what I can do. Like I said, I've been like hitting the gym and all that stuff. So I've been, getting in better conditioning. I want to like add more like moves to my arsenal. I want to be like, good at a lot of things. So I'd love to, in case they like, I need to do a move, I can pull it out and do it. Like there's no like issues or anything like that. So I've been working on that, getting conditioning right and all that good stuff. Trying to put on a little bit more muscle, things like that nature. But yeah, man, I hope to get back into it. District is a great show. It's fantastic. Obviously a lot of my like peers and stuff like that are there. Like dudes in kimonos are there. Love them. Love Frankie and KJ. They're freaking amazing. Dylan, who's also part of like Camp 4, is also there and performing there. But yeah, man, it's great. I'm really excited to get back in there. And like I said, never know. You might see me splashing people on a district pretty soon.
Yeah, and hopefully we get to see the tag team of you and Danny Dragon.
Sure.
we got to get Danny on this show, man. Like we haven't interviewed a Dragon in a while. The last Dragon we had on this show was Rude Dragon. Shout out to Rude Dragon over there in California.
He's great,
but he was in class too.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Matter of fact, I think he's actually. I mean, he said he'd step away from wrestling for a bit, but I'd like to see that match. Danny Dragon versus Rude Dragon.
Dragon versus Dragon, right?
That'd be a cool thing to see. Definitely wouldn't mind. But
yeah, Danny's great, man. He's just it's kind of I don't know if you wanted me to say this, but he's not really good at social media. So if you can get a hold of him, I'm sure he's like more than happy to like, come on here and talk to you.
If you ever talk to him, tell him we'd like to have him on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
We actually sent him a message. We were able to find him on Instagram, but yeah, we could tell he's not really that into social media, but tell him, hey, he can come on the show. He can wear the mask. Heck, he doesn't even have to show himself. Just like how Rob there had the audio off. We've had people take, have the audio, have the video off. So, I mean, by all means, he could actually, do that as well. He doesn't have to like show his face or anything. I mean, we respect the masked wrestlers too. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
he had to be forced to make an Instagram too, by the way, which is pretty funny. They like forced him to make one. They were like, "Well, you're a wrestler now, so you gotta have an Instagram." So he didn't have anything, like no social media. I don't think he had any social media at all. So yeah, like I said, he's not very well versed in it. So
honestly, social media can be tedious to. It can be tedious to upkeep, and you gotta keep at it, especially if you have a business or you have a podcast like ours. You gotta constantly be putting things out there so that people can remember, hey, Ringside Society is still here, or Gabriel Vega is still here,
right,
Rob Bates and Remy Blue, they're still here. Just because people can, there's so much going on social media, and people can tend to forget about you real quick. So it could be tedious. That's just my opinion, though. It could be tedious. So
right,
I just got one more question for you. So
yeah.
now that you graduated, the showcase is over. You're working on getting back and doing your thing. Who are you know some who are your top five opponents that you'd want to wrestle in the in the near future? They could be from anywhere, WWE, AEW, Impact,
Oh man.
or the Nightmare Factory itself, or anywhere on the Indies. It doesn't matter.
Oh man. So I'll do like some local people. I'll do like two dream opponents and I do three like local people, like people like my peers and stuff like that. So dream opponents, if I could like step in the ring with anybody, just to even like learn too, like you learn so much just from being in there with people, uh, I'd love to face like Brian Danielson. He's
Okay.
the best, not that, not that I'm saying it'll happen or anything like that, obviously, but like dream opponent for that. Then like, I don't know, man, Kenny Omega, man, like he's up there, man. Like look at him now, like his return and everything, like he's got it, man. He's Kenny Omega. Like there's nothing much more to say with that. As far as like my peers and stuff like that, I think I still owe Casey Rocker a little something from those kicks and stuff like that. So I feel like he still has it coming too for what he did to Danny. So I would say Casey Rocker. He's also, I mean, he's a great wrestler, obviously. I'd love to wrestle Danny, my partner Danny Dragon. So we did get a chance to like practice matches and stuff like that. So there's a nickname that I have. I don't know if you guys like saw it in the showcase. I think they mentioned it a couple of times. So like they say like, oh, it's like BSG, right? So it stands for like Big Strong Gabe. So he's actually the one that gave me that nickname. There's like a funny story to it where like it was like during a practice match, I like stood up too quickly or something like that, and he was like, "Oh, Big Strong Gabe," and then he like pushed me down because he was a heel in it. But I'd love to actually get a chance to wrestle with him. Kind of see what he's made of too. The last person. I don't know, man. I think I'll do another dream one. I think I'll go with Coach Cody. I think I'd like to wrestle Coach Cody eventually.
That's teacher versus student. Those are always ones to watch. Those are always great ones to watch.
Yeah, he gave me a pretty hard chop in like the first like 2 weeks of training. So
Oh man. Yeah, I can imagine. I could only imagine like what it is to have Cody Rhodes train like so much, because he is the grandson of a plumber, the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, a man who has given many great memorable promos. And I could only imagine that Dusty passed that down to him, and now he's passing it on to y'all. I could only imagine like how much how much emphasis he puts on everything that y'all learn in those classes and so on. So yeah, man, I gotta say, if nobody has thanked you before, you're gonna hear it from us for the first time. And if people have thanked you before, well, I guess you're gonna hear it from us for the millionth time. But congratulations on actually graduating, the Nightmare Factory Camp 4, and
thank you.
having a great match. And we look forward to seeing you on TV and everything. And we'll definitely be cheering for you. I know Rob has a couple of questions for you as
Yeah.
well. Just a heads up, if you're an MCU fan, or a Cobra Kai fan, it's gonna be a conversation. So Rob, go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
All right, sweet. Thanks, man. So what's going on, Gabe, man? How's everything going your way?
Pretty good, man. Having a good time talking with you guys here about some wrestling and stuff like that. So I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Oh, I'm well, you know what I mean? My food actually just got here and stuff, man. I was trying to time it out to get here before the podcast, but they were running late, just came here in the middle. So I'm like, now I got three beagles around me, like
Oh
circling like
man.
buzzards. Like, oh man, what's up? Yeah, so man, you're down there in Atlanta, man. I got to ask, man, are you a Braves and Falcons and all that, Atlanta fan?
Yeah. Cursed to be an Atlanta fan for the Atlanta teams, right? I mean, I guess the Braves not really because they won the World Series last year, but
Yeah.
Falcons. They're the Falcons. So it's kind of rough, but I think lately it's a lot of the teams that people have been going for. Obviously, here's just like Braves, Atlanta United, if you like soccer and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty big fan of the Atlanta teams.
Yeah, I have a friend. He loves all the Atlanta teams, and he lives here in Delaware and stuff.
Oh
I guess
wow.
he liked the Atlanta Braves, and then Deion Sanders, I think, was like one of his favorite players to watch, and he was
Oh
like, "Well, I
wow.
might as well just like the Falcons." And he was like, "Well, I like all these Atlanta teams. I might as well like the Hawks, and all Atlanta." So it's like, all right, what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I feel the pain, every year. He's like, "Oh man," especially that Super
Yeah.
Bowl. I went over to his house at halftime, and he was like.
Oh.
I swear he was dancing. He was dancing the jig. I've never seen him dance in my life. You know what I mean? And then the end of the game, he was like, I was like,
Yeah.
woo.
Oh man, I don't think anybody's still recovered from that, man. Even though it's been years since that. So.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that was awful. Oh man, I was rooting for him too because I'm a Dolphins fan. I was
Oh,
like,
I
man, I don't
gotcha.
like the Patriots, man. They'll dominate you every year. It's like, man, twice a year even. Oh,
Right.
yeah, it's all good though, man. So I did, man. I was doing a little research, man.
Yep.
Man, you be driving? Do you really drive a Benz around, man? I gotta ask
Oh,
you about that. And how you driving it?
I drive
How's it ride?
so I drive a BMW. Yeah, man. I own that car. I actually work like my shoot job. I like work for BMW, which is kind of how I got it, pretty
Oh,
much.
okay. That's cool.
But yeah, I got one. Handles like a dream, man. Love the car. Yeah, it's like it's everybody's like, oh, a car is like just gets you from point A to point B. It's like yeah, but it's like it's how it feels between point A to point B, right? So
Mhm.
like I've gotten into it, and like once I get into that car, like if I drive anything else, like every other car brand is great, right? But like every car brand drives differently. Not to like bore you with like car specifics or anything like that, but I'm really into cars, obviously. But once you like drive one of those, like a BMW or like another like great driving cars, like you get into another car and it's just not the same. Like it just isn't. Like I don't see myself really driving anything else. But yeah, man, I love it. I got it. The current one that I have, I got like earlier on this year.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
just got a super good deal on it, so I just couldn't pass it up. And I was like, yeah, might as well just get it. So yeah, man.
Yeah, my buddy, he got a Benz for a while back and stuff, and I remember driving it, and that thing's smooth driving. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He let me drive. I got on the highway, and I'm like, man, I don't think I'm going fast. And I'm like doing 85. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
lord, you know what I mean? I'm just like sitting here
Yep.
driving like this, like. Yeah, man. I see Benz. I love driving them, but it's something you gotta get the oil change. Something breaks down. It's like, oh man, I don't know.
They're
I like
expensive,
working
yeah.
on it myself. Yeah, I can work on it myself. If I can't do it myself, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying earlier you're doing some training. Trying to get
Mhm.
back in shape and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Do you also do that with the mountain climbing? Because I've seen some pictures on there. You climbing mountains. Like, I don't have any mountains here in Delaware. Like, the biggest mountain here is like the hill in my backyard. So.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I used to like I go on like hikes and stuff like that every now and then. It's kind of it's a good thing. It's like a good way to like clear your head and stuff like that. So it's always good to go outside and like be with nature and stuff like that. I'm not like a super nature buff. Like I don't like spend all of my time outside, but like going outside for a walk is like nice. Like you can't like when walking on a treadmill is not the same as like walking up like a hill or like a mountain or something like that. Like it's really not the same. So yeah, it's just another great form to like stay active and just kind of be outside and enjoy the nice weather whenever we get it here.
So I know if I ever climbed a mountain, I would be like get that Sylvester Stallone cliffhanger stuff in my head. What I mean? I'd be like, oh, I gotta be Sylvester. You know what I mean? Doing the thing, man, just out there
Yeah.
doing it. Now I gotta ask you about flying and stuff, man. You seem to be like a fly somebody who flies on a lot of planes. Now I've never been on a plane, and the first time I'm going on a plane is at the end of October. I'm going down to Florida for like their haunted house things. Are there any tips I should need, because I'm used to driving everywhere. I've driven to Florida. I've driven to Canada.
Yeah.
I just
Wow.
like the scenery, just drive and do what I want. But yeah, I'm all scared. I'm thinking I have to ask my doctor for like Xanax to take. So I'm getting nervous. Every day
Yeah.
gets closer. I'm excited, but then I'm like, oh my god, why? Oh, I'm nervous.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it's quicker than driving a car, which I guess is like the big benefit, obviously, about getting on a plane.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, man. If like flying, like get there early. Like TSA is a nightmare. Like I know in Georgia we have a big issue with TSA. Like get there early, get through it. Like worst case scenario, you're hanging out, like waiting for your plane at the gate, right? You get to sit down, but at least you're not late trying to scramble through your gate, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gates sometimes change all the time, like especially once you get into the busier months, like once you start getting into like November, December for holidays and all that stuff, like gates are going to change all the time. I went on this one flight, had my gate changed like 6 times, like not kidding, like literally had it changed 6 times. It was a nightmare. And then it got delayed like by like 2 hours. So it was really bad. So get there early. Turbulence is kind of freaky. Funny enough though, even though it feels like you're about to just like fly through the roof of the plane whenever you hit turbulence, there's actually a funny video that I like watched recently, and it's just the pilots kind of driving like in the cockpit. And yeah, to them turbulence is like nothing. They're literally just hanging out, like sipping like coffee. Like they're just hanging out.
Oh
It's
man.
nothing to them. And then everybody else is like shaking and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wouldn't think too much of it. If you can sleep on it, sleep through it, I guess. If you're like anxious, like you said, maybe like if you need like a Xanax or something to like kind of chill out, do that. I usually will like watch movies or something, or like listen to a podcast. I like preload it on my phone or something. You just kind of listen to that. That'll kind of help the time pass by. Because usually once you get to the last like 30 minutes, it's just you descending. And at that point, everybody's kind of like moving around. They're like trying to get buckled up and stuff like that. So the last 30 minutes usually go by pretty quick. But it's just when you're up in the air, it's like finding stuff to do, especially on a long flight where you like can pass the time quicker as opposed to just kind of sitting there. So definitely suggest bringing something to distract yourself. Get there early, I think, are my two biggest tips.
Yeah, I know about getting there early because I've given rides to friends and family and stuff to the airport in Philly and all. But this time I'm flying out of Baltimore, so I've never been to that airport before. So we're going to go extra early, so
Gotcha.
so we know what to do. And that turbulence, yeah, man, I'm bringing extra drawers, just for that turbulence. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be sitting there like, yep, yeah, I got to change as soon as we get off or something. Like, no, man, done got me.
Yeah, nothing is a little bit freakier than when you see that like seatbelt warning come on and then you just feel the plane shaking all the time. Like that's the scariest thing. You're like, oh man, like here we go, this is it.
Yeah, I'll be screaming, we're gonna die, huh? And they're like, what? I start freaking people out. And they're like, no, turbulence. I'm like, oh man, oh man. So, man, so training at the factory, man. What was that? When you got there, man. Like, how was it? Learning from like Coach Cody and Glacier and all that. And like, what was like the best advice they gave you? And like, something you've taken with you.
Oh man, geez, there's so many things that they like, so much like good things that they like told us about, like good feedback and stuff like that. But what it was like is, I remember like my first day, kind of like walking through it, like I was like pumping myself up like on the ride home. I was at work like that day that I started, right? I worked every day, and then I went to go train right after work. So I was like, I left work early, went to the factory, and I remember like walking through the door. And then, yeah, just like looking at the rings, and I was like, wow, like this is it. Like I'm actually here. Like those are rings. Like I'm gonna step in those, right? Like it was just crazy to me. And then, yeah, just sitting down, meeting all my classmates, and then seeing like all the coaches walk in, like Coach Glacier, Coach Cody, Coach QT, like Coach Barron, Coach Luke, like all of them walking through, and like seeing them all in there, like talking to us and all that good stuff. It was kind of surreal. That's like the first time I've ever like seen like Cody or QT or Glacier, right? Like in person, like other than seeing them like wrestle in a wrestling ring or like on TV. It was kind of surreal to me. I was like, wow, like this is like real. Like this is crazy. Like, So at that point, I think the switch kind of like flipped from like a fan to being like a wrestler. Because I think like walking through the door, I was still kind of like giddy, and I was like, oh man, like, you know, like these are people I look up to. And I mean, they obviously I do still, but like it's just that switch of like, all right, now I'm like a trainee. Like now I have to like actually like do it and like wrestle and all that stuff. But one of the most important things I think that kind of like really stuck to me was one thing that Coach Glacier told us kind of towards the beginning of the when we started training. I think it was like probably like the first or second week. And yeah, he just told us, you know, like just be nice to everybody. Like you never know. Like just be respectful, be nice, and then just always think of your why. Like why do you do this? Like always think of your why. Why do you want to do this? Like why do you continue to do this? Why do you like continue to slam yourself on a piece of plywood, you know, like with canvas on top of it? Like think of your why and like hold that close to you and just like remind yourself of like why you do this. And that's probably one of the biggest ones. I remember like writing that down. There's like a journal that I have like filled with like notes and stuff like that I took. And I remember like writing that down and like really going home afterwards and like just thinking about like what he said. But yeah, man, there's so many things like that Coach Cody said, Coach QT, Coach Glacier, like they all gave us like amazing feedbacks and amazing things to like really take with us and continue on.
See, I like that, man. You know, with the journal thing, because when I did train, like doing rest stuff and all that, man, I sat there with a notebook too, you know, and they say something, I'm like, hold on a second. What? Okay, all right, yep, got that. All right, cool. All right, my bad. Continue. You know, I'm gonna get that down.
Right.
So how'd you feel? You know, you take that first bump and all, where you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready for this. Let's go. Let's keep going.
So, so I think that was day one. So I think day one we went in there, they talked to us, and they were like, "All right, we're ahead of schedule, so we're gonna like." It was either day one or day two, I think. And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna like let you guys get in the ring." So they like showed us how to get in the ring, how to get out of it, and they were like, "All right, like we're gonna take bumps." So we started taking bumps, right? So we did a back bump, which is like the first bump that you take, and yeah, I just remember they were like, "All right, you know, like stand there, like kind of do this." At you know when we first started learning them, do this, and then like take a bump, right? So I did that, popped my hips, took a bump, tucked my head and everything. And I remember I like slammed onto the mat, right? And when you slam on it, you make this big noise, obviously, because it's wood. And I slammed on there, and I remember I was like there, and I was like, oh, like the wind didn't get knocked out of me, but it was just like, I don't know, like you never like your instinct's never to throw yourself to anything; it's to prevent yourself from hitting stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact that I had to throw myself back, you know, was like just shocking to me, like to my body, because I've never done it before. But yeah, man, it, for lack of long story short, it hurt. The first bump hurt quite a bit. But afterwards I was like, you know what? Like I can do this. Like I can do this. But at first I took it and I was like it just hurt. It felt like it just hurt. But then you get used to it after a while. But the first couple were the most painful ones, I think.
Yeah, they had us doing bumps and running ropes too and stuff, and yeah, man, taking a bump, yeah, it's like you said, it felt because your instinct isn't to just like, you know, go like that. You're supposed, you know, like, oh man, I gotta brace myself, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was always so weird to me, you know, doing that. You know, I'm all like, you know, yeah, oh yeah, it was a funky feeling.
Right.
Yeah, but it was all good, man. I was like, oh man, I wish I would have done this when I was younger and stuff, man. I was like, man, why I have to wait till I was like 39 years old to get into this?
Right.
So, man, you know, you're talking about, you know, as a kid, you know, like Sting, you know, used to scare you and all that, man. Who'd you used to root for, and you know, who'd you used to boo, and like, you know, who were you like, oh man, I can't get this guy off my TV or whatever, you know?
So when I got back into it, like, cause I was more or less like a toddler when Sting was around, right? I was probably like maybe like 2 or 3 years old at that time. I was born in '95, so yeah, it's probably like 2 or 3 years old, somewhere around there. So once I got back into it, when I was still a kid, I was like 10 years old. Once I got back into it, I was like, I hated Randy Orton, hated him, absolutely hated him, did not like him. You know, at the time, you know, you're a kid, so you're like, oh, like, you know, like, oh, boo, you know, he's like going for the low blows and like distracting and everything. You're like, oh man, like this guy, like he just, you know, can't win clean, right? So did not like him. Loved John Cena, as every kid does, you know, at that time growing up when everybody kind of, John Cena was starting to hit his peak and coming out as like the WWE champion and all that stuff. So really liked him. probably part of the reason why I like started working out and stuff like that was because of him. I looked at him and I was like, this dude's huge. Like I want to be like that, you know? So that's part of the reason why I also started working out, obviously for wrestling too. But yeah, those two I think were my most loved when I first got into it again, when I was like 10 years old, and Rey Mysterio too. I loved Rey Mysterio. So I would say it's probably Rey, John Cena were probably my most loved. My most hated definitely was probably Randy Orton. I think that was probably my most hated person when I was, a kid growing up. So
Yeah. So, after like graduating and stuff, man, like, where's the farthest you traveled for a show? Have you just stayed around the area, or have you, gone anywhere, like West Coast, East Coast, North, South?
No.
Well, you are in the
No.
South, so.
Yeah, no, I've stayed in the area. I do have family like on the West Coast, so like I have, I travel to like California and stuff like that to visit. I'd love to like go out there. Some of our, one of our classmates is from like California. So I'd love to go over there and kind of see what they have. There's a lot of like good wrestling out there on the West Coast, which is like surprising to me that like, AEW like finally got out there recently and like did a show like on the West Coast and stuff like that. So there's a lot of good wrestling over there. Obviously, you got like the New Japan like dojo over there and like the West Coast and everything. So like there's a lot of great wrestling that I'd love to go there. But yeah, I've just been sticking to like the immediate area here for now. So
That's cool. Because I was going to ask, since you do travel, anyway, even not for wrestling, do you have any funny travel stories that have happened? Like, I don't know, maybe you've come across a Sasquatch or, Chupacabra or something like that, something crazy.
So it's like kind of funny only because like we didn't know what was going on. So I would say the most like interesting story. Well, I have two. I already kind of told the one where it like my flight got like delayed and stuff like that. I think that was more annoying than anything. Looking back now, it is kind of funny, but I got there like at the time I was supposed to, and they were like, "Oh, the flight's delayed an hour." They're like, "Oh, now it's delayed 2 more hours." And it's like, "Oh, now your gate's changed. Now your gate's across the airport, like somewhere else." So I gotta go over there. And at the time when that happened, I think like we went as a family or something, and I came back early. So like my mom had like gotten the tickets for us or whatever. So she was getting all the updates and I wasn't. So she kept having to text me the entire time. She's like, "Oh, your gate's moved. Oh, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh," I had to keep going. So that was one, but there was one where we went to go visit family in California. We were coming back, and I think they were getting, it was my aunt's birthday or something like that, I think, because we went in like early like January, like mid-January or something like that. So we went over and we go to California. California is completely different in the wintertime than it is here. Like here it actually, like, I know you guys are like, you're further up there, but it does get a little bit cold down in Atlanta, not cold enough like for you guys, but it does get a little bit cold. But in California it doesn't. It was like 70 degrees for their winter time, right? That's cold for them. So we went there. We were there for like a couple of days. We're flying back, and as we're flying back, we're actually at the airport. And I like take out my phone because I'm like, on vacation, so I really wasn't paying attention to a lot of social media and stuff like that. Look on my phone, and I'm like, look over, and we have all these warnings for like a winter storm warning where we're flying to Atlanta. We're flying back to Atlanta, and there's winter storm warnings going on in Atlanta. I look over at Mom. I was like, "There's winter storm warnings. Do you know about this?" She's like, "No." So we didn't know about that. We're like freaking out. Our flight gets delayed like an hour. We get like stuck on the runway. So we finally are like flying towards Atlanta. We're getting close. And it's weird because like, and you'll see this, obviously, you'll see it when you get on the plane, but like you can still see the ground. You're far up, but you can still see it. And it was like green. And then all of a sudden it was just like white. And the whole thing was just white, the entire ground. And I was like, oh man. So we ended up getting there. As soon as we got there and we landed, it started snowing. I guess they had come from like the west towards the east. So we actually kind of got ahead of it a little bit. And as we like were leaving from the airport, like in our cars, it started to snow. So we kind of got lucky there that we made it, or else we probably would have gotten stuck, and there would have been more delays and stuff like that. But yeah, that was probably the most that could have turned into quite a flight experience had it snowed a little bit earlier than it did. So.
Oh yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, man, that snow will get you, man. Yeah, I hate when it snows here, man. Sometimes it'll. I've been here. One time I remember we had a blizzard, and I looked out the window and was like, "Oh man, the snow's up to the tires in the car." And I was like, "Oh man, now the snow's up to the window."
Oh my gosh!
Oh my God, I can't see the car now. Like, where's the car at? It was like, oh my Lord. It was like, oh man, it was awful.
Yeah.
So I do gotta ask, man. I always ask this when people, because I always get stuck watching the same old stuff. Just like comfort shows. You know what I mean, like
Yeah.
TV and movies. But do you have any, any new movies and TV shows you're into right now, or something that you've been watching? Because I'm always trying to check something new out if I hadn't seen it.
Gotcha. So yeah, man. I'm a big like a big like Star. I see you have like the Mandalorian thing in the background, so I like love Star Wars. I'm a
Yeah.
huge,
Hmm.
huge Star Wars nerd, and Marvel nerd too. I love Marvel. My trunks actually, like my wrestling trunks, are inspired by Venom. Like I actually got the design to be made like Venom. Kind of sucks because you couldn't really see them too well in the showcase, but like the lettering is in like the Venom font, and then there's like different textures of black on them to make it look like it's like the Venom suit, which is pretty cool. But that's kind of what I went to there. My knee pads are the same and my kick pads are the same in the wrestling showcase. But in terms of shows, I'm terrible at watching shows. Like I'm so behind on the Marvel shows right now. It's like I haven't watched She-Hulk. Like I think I got to like episode
Yeah, I haven't.
like 3 of like Moon Knight or something. Like I'm so bad. But I recently got into The Boys. Like I haven't watched The Boys, but I recently got into that and I'm almost caught up. I think I have like 2 episodes left. It's been great. Like I started at first and I was like, this is kind of weird. And then once I got to episode 2, I was like, oh man, this is great. And then, it kind of, from there, I just started to watch like an episode a night and stuff like that. So definitely, if you haven't watched The Boys, definitely watch The Boys. Yeah, it's such a good show. Such a good show.
How is season 3
Oh,
this
yeah.
year? I know season 3 has Jensen Ackles. I haven't seen it yet though. I'm just
Yeah.
how is it?
Yeah,
Is it
I'm only on the second episode on season 3. I haven't finished it
Ooh.
yet.
Yeah, you're close.
Third episode.
Third episode? Oh yeah, you're close.
Yeah, second
Jensen
or
Ackles
third.
is amazing. Yeah, Jensen
Yeah, he's
Ackles
getting
is
ready to
amazing,
come
dude.
back. Yeah, he's getting
yeah.
ready to come back where I'm at. He's getting ready.
Yeah, dude, he's amazing. He's such a good actor. Like he's just great in the show. Like I don't want to spoil anything or anything like that, but you'll see like he knows the character well, and like kind of what the character that he's playing has been through, and that like plays on later on kind of towards the show. So you'll get to see that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, man, he's doing a great job. Like as a because he kind of was like the original, like in the show he was kind of like the original Homelander, and then Homelander's like kind of like him, like the new version of him, right? So it's kind of cool to see like 2 like alphas like in the same show. So yeah, he's great. He's great on the show.
Rob, I don't mean to cut you, but I got a feeling that you're and I mean this with the utmost respect. He is my favorite wrestler. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. But somebody put up a whole meme or some kind of picture comparison of Homelander and Cody Rhodes, and I'm like, I didn't know if that was a compliment or an insult, because I mean, if you know about Homelander. I mean, both of y'all know how Homelander can be. So I was like, I'm not gonna touch that one.
Yeah, I guess I guess when they both wear like United States colors and they both have beach like blonde hair, they both wear kind of a similar coat. People kind of think it's a similarity. I think Cody said that like it's a coat supposed to be like a revolutionary, like inspired by a revolutionary like war jacket, pretty much. So he said it was kind of interesting that people were thinking that he's like Homelander now or something like that. But I guess the fans will like try to pick apart something and like try to like really kind of see kind of what it looks like. But it could be wherever it could be. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Jensen Ackles. Yeah, he's a good actor. I mean, I was a fan of Supernatural. I love that. One of my favorite shows. And same with Jared Padalecki. Man, he was in the Jason reboot, the '09 Jason reboot. Man, I'm like, he survived Jason. I'm like, yeah, Sam Winchester, man, he can survive Jason. He can do anything. I mean,
dude, they survive anything. Like they're.
Oh yeah.
They even have I think in The Boys they have the character that played Bobby, right? I think he's in there. He's like he's one of the.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And his name I think is still Bobby too. I think his name is like Bob something or like Bob or something. I think it's the same name that he had. So.
Hey, I mean, it's easy to remember. I know Charlie Sheen, like almost all his TV shows and stuff, his character's named Charlie, so, Yeah, just be like, it's easier to remember, I guess.
Right.
So, yeah, man, Before I pass it on back to Remy, I do want to say, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on chat with us, man. I had a
Yeah.
blast, chatting with you about, wrestling, flying, all that good stuff, the boys and all that. And I wish you nothing but, the best for your future endeavors. I hope you, start getting all across the United States, kicking butt, taking names, raising that gold everywhere, and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Gabriel, I just gotta say, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to, go ahead and, shoot the breeze about professional wrestling and your wrestling career and so on. Really and truly do appreciate it. It's always an honor and a pleasure and honor and pleasure
Mhm.
to speak with, a Nightmare Factory student. We always enjoy these times, and we're not going to stop with that. So, thank you once again for, giving us this opportunity. Really appreciate it. And, we hope that, you end up, traveling all over, the country, if not all over the world, and, wrestle everywhere. Hopefully you get to wrestle back in California. I've seen
Yeah.
wrestling in California, and you guys have some larger than life characters over there. I'm talking like some double characters that Vince McMahon would definitely love.
Yeah.
I've seen a guy named Cereal Man who I would love to eat cereal with. He's one of the two people I like to eat cereal with. The other one's a woman by the name of Alyssa Marino, who
Oh man.
actually eats cereal on her podcast as well.
Did you see the guy that oh man, I don't know his name. I saw him like on Instagram recently. He like makes pizzas. Did you see that? Have you seen
Oh,
that?
That's Luigi Primo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Note to self: eat pizza with Luigi. I love that. Personally, I'm gonna do some crazy stuff. Not too crazy stuff, but some a bit of unorthodox things on here. I
Oh
might
yeah.
get a Domino's pizza and just
Oh,
have
yeah.
a slice with Luigi. I might get me a nice big bowl of cinnamon toast crunch and have it with Cereal Man or
Oh,
Alyssa.
love cinnamon toast crunch.
You know, yeah, So I'll definitely we're definitely gonna do some things here real soon as well. That's a couple of things that we want to do. But yeah, I've seen Luigi Primo. I'm like, and there's another guy that makes pancakes. I forgot what his name,
Yes.
but I'm like,
Yes.
I believe he's actually based here in New York. He wrestles for NYWC, which I believe is ran by Mikey Whipwreck. Rob, I know you know who that is. Don't tell me you don't know who that is. But yeah, yeah, it's y'all have some larger than life characters, man. I remember I went to one show. It was in Southgate, which is part of Los Angeles, and it was AWS, and I had a very great time. I got to see the Stoner Brothers there, and several people were there. Nicole Savoy, Willie Mack was there. So yeah, definitely great times. So with that being said, where can fans find you on social media whenever they want to find out where your next appearances, purchase Gabriel Vega merchandise, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you, or if they want to book the tag team of Gabriel Vega and Danny Dragon
Oh
for their
yeah.
shows?
Yeah. So yeah, my Instagram is at no and then underscore it's underscore Gabe. My Twitter is at Gabe Gutierrez 95. And if anybody wants to book me, they can either shoot me a DM or contact Gabriel Vega Pro at gmail.com.
Awesome. So y'all heard this man has social media. He just gave his social media links. Hit him up. Promoters. He has a really cool splash he does off of Danny Dragon's back.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And I'm not just saying that. It was really a moment I'll never forget. Definitely
Thank
make
you.
sure you hire this man. Whenever that Gabriel Vega merchandise comes out, the BSG
Oh
merchandise,
yeah.
Big Strong Gabe.
Oh
Make
yeah.
sure you cop that merchandise as well. I always say if you can't make the shows, this is another way you can support indie wrestling, is buying the merchandise that these men and women put out. This is their
Right.
passion. They don't just do it for the money or the fame. They do it because they love it and they
Correct.
sacrifice. They're pretty much their physical and their mental health for us, the fans. So what better way than for us to actually purchase merchandise as well? I'll say this right now: if y'all don't support indie wrestling, which is where 90% of your AEW and WWE, superstars come from, I'm gonna let
Yeah.
Rob over here, come to your house and eat out all your food.
Ooh.
Trust me, he will do. You see how he's skinny right now. He will come to your house. Next thing you know, but when you get home, you open your fridge, you find a skipping rope in your fridge. I mean, you got to skip a meal.
That's right, Lucy. You tell him. That's right, Lucy. Tell him. That's right. I'm on Operation Fat Rod because of that.
And as a matter of fact, As a matter of fact, he'll probably have the dog come over and eat your dog's food too. So now your dog gonna look at you all angry because you didn't support indie wrestling. Support indie wrestling, y'all. It's a
Yes,
great
yes.
thing. It's a wonderful feeling, and it's always great when you see somebody going, "Hey, I got the new Gabriel Vega shirt from Impact Wrestling or
There you
AEW
go.
Shop WWE or whatever they have," and you could be like, "Boy, get out of here, man! I got that Gabriel Vega shirt from when he started out, man. I'm a real fan. Yeah, you know what I'm saying."
Right, there you go.
Yeah, definitely support indie wrestling. It's a great feeling. Check out the Nightmare Factory. Check out the Nightmare Factory showcases. You don't have to pay for anything. You just go on YouTube, type in Nightmare Factory student showcase. You'll see all 6 of them there, and you'll I guarantee you'll have a lot of great memories. You will enjoy it, and you'll thank us later for it as well, like Drake's first album. But with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. My stomach is kind of rumbling, and AEW is about to come on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that means it's time for some entertainment and some dinner. Maybe not in that order, but before I partake in those activities, Rob Bass, the Mel Gibson to my Danny Glover, the Sean Spencer to my Burton Guster, and the Eminem to my Royce the 5'9". Where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling, find out where your next appearance is, purchase Rob Bass merchandise, and where can bookers or promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
All right, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rob_Base82 and then Facebook Rob Base. And then this Saturday, 1CW, CCW, we're going to be in Houston, Delaware, tearing it down. Yeah, you got everybody from like Miles Millennium, Sam Beal, LSG, the Renegade Twins, Vert Vixen's going to be there. Yeah, everybody's going to be there. All your favorite indie stars will be there. So definitely check us out. If you can't be there in person, we're on DelmarvaSportsNetwork.com. You can check us out. We'll be streaming from there, or YouTube or Facebook, whatever.
Hey, and they got 2 guys that were on that 1CW show that made the PWI top 500. So make sure you go and check it out. So CCW, 1CW is doing a great thing. VWR, Vixen Wrestling Revolution, they have a show this Friday in Texas. And I believe District Championship Wrestling, they have a show going on this Sunday.
Yes.
In Georgia, ran by Diamond Sheik, Jameson Ryan. Check them out. 2 great Nightmare Factory alumni giving back to the great state of Georgia with this great promotion. I'm actually jealous I can't make it, but best believe one of these days I will pull up because I love me some Georgia, especially the food they got down there, and I will enjoy some DCW. But with that being said, if y'all want to find me on social media, not that I have anything cool or interesting to say these days, but you never know. You might get lucky and hear me say something interesting. You can find me on Twitter at @TheRemyBlue. You can also find me on Instagram at @TheRemyBlue and also on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. Our podcast is also on social media. We're on Twitch at Ringside Society 2019, Instagram and Twitter at Ringside Society, and also Facebook as a Facebook group. Just type in Ringside Society. We're there. We also have a Teespring store where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have t-shirts, tank tops. We have hoodies for the upcoming fall season, and we even have coffee mugs for you to sip your favorite pumpkin spice latte or your favorite warm beverage of choice as well. So definitely check us out. Cop some merchandise. All proceeds go back into keeping our show afloat. They do not go back into our pockets. Trust me. I'm still eating hamburger helper, and Rob is still eating Kool-Aid sandwiches. So trust me, we're not getting any of that. But another thing, we also have a YouTube channel where we have, where you can catch all these great interviews, like this one we just did with Gabriel Vega, like the one we did with Katie Hebner, the dudes in kimonos,
Yes.
DeMarcio James, and even referees like Paul Espinal and Luis Santiago, and also Let Wrestling Live owner Nadia Hunter, who was actually the ring announcer for the Showcase 4. You can find all of those great interviews on our YouTube channel. Just go on YouTube, type in Ringside Society, and once you see that sweet dark blue and light blue yin yang sound, the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. Make sure you subscribe to all our videos because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. But with that being said, we just want to thank you by tuning in tonight live to listen to us. We really and truly appreciate it. We strive on being one of the best wrestling podcasts, a wrestling fan could listen to. To those of y'all that are going to listen to us later on when you get a chance, thank you much. Thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away. Well, like myself at the Golden Corral and Rob Bass at the Taco Festival, we ain't going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
And we ain't stopping. With that being said, we just want to let everybody know that we're very well and aware that everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hashtag we are not the same. Hey, yo, Rob Bass, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, one time for the Nightmare Factory Camp 4, and one time for BSG, Big Strong Gabe,
Yes.
Gabriel Vega. What type of podcast are we?
We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast.
That's right, we're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society, and we will be back next week or this weekend with another impressive episode with another impressive guest. But until then, please just do us these 4 favors. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.
See y'all. Good night. Stay classy,
Yeah.
Delaware.